Hello everybody, hope you're having a fantastic day. We're back, and today I just wanted to make a short video reacting to a clip that I found on Instagram that is getting quite a bit of traction behind it. This one in particular has 50,000 likes, and it's about one Ibram X Kendi on the Stephen Colbert show. We know both of these men. We know they're very left-leaning. With Ibram X Kendi, we're gonna get some talk about how we should be an anti-racist and dedicate ourselves to things like critical race theory, because that's still shtick. He's been able to make a bunch of money off it. He wrote this whole article talking about how he was upset to go to a daycare where his black daughter was playing with only white dolls. Oh, the horror! But this is his shtick, you know? Racism, racism, racism. When we look at the world through that lens, which is exactly what critical race theory asks us to do, we will find it everywhere. So he was on the Stephen Colbert show. And of course, they start talking about the subject matter of anti-racism and critical race theory, and they spin the tale that conservatives, in particular, don't want people to learn true history. You guys let me know, whoever's watching this right now, you ever met a conservative who says, I don't want to teach people real history? Ever? You ever met a conservative who's like, we can't talk about the KKK, we can't talk about slavery in schools? I don't want to teach people that, America used to involve itself in racialized transgressions. I don't want to ever talk about that or acknowledge that. You ever met somebody who said that? Because I haven't. And if you have, send them my way. I'd love to have them on the show to talk about why they have such an asinine view. But apparently this is the caricature that we paint of conservatives. We don't want to talk about true history. So, of course, Stephen Colbert sets him up with a question on the subject matter. Let's watch the clip and get a reaction here.
One of the arguments you hear in opposition to talking to young children or to teaching elementary level school children about racism or the history of racism in America is the argument goes something along the lines of, well, you're going to make white kids feel bad.
Okay, pause already. First of all, who has made the argument? I would love to have us, back it up like a Tonka truck for a real quick second and tell me who has made the argument that we don't want to teach history in school, that we don't want to have a conversation about slavery, because I haven't met the person who's made that argument. What we're saying is we don't want critical race theory being taught in schools. Now, contrary to what might be popular belief on the progressive left, critical race theory is not history. It's not about history. They will tell you that it is. They will tell you that critical race theory is just, we just want to talk about slavery in school. No, that's not at all what it is. And if you look up the tenets of critical race theory, which I have looked into and invested way more time than I should ever have to invest at 22 years old into reading such garbage. I've invested a lot of time into reading about critical race theory. You'll hear from people like Derek Bell, Gene Stefanstik, Richard Delgado, who write that because America was involved in these transgressions like slavery and Jim Crow, and we went through a segregative era here in this country, that we need to look at specifically our laws, but virtually everything, every facet of our society, every facet of our nation, through the lens of race, because they speculate that that's what everything was founded on. Racism and white supremacy. So now we must look at everything through the lens of race. Derek Bell himself said, every piece of your society and of your experience, racism is always going to be a part of your experience if you are a person of color in this country. Always. That's the type of rhetoric we're talking about. We're not talking about history. We're not talking about who fought in the Civil War. We're not talking about the Underground Railroad or Maroon societies or pieces of black historical culture here in this country. We're talking about a narrative that not only were white people oppressors in the past, but they are in the present, whether they are conscious of it or it's an unconscious thing that is connected to them. That's why we are concerned about not only white children, but black children and Hispanic children and Asian children feeling bad when they get taught these lessons. It has nothing to do with history. By all means, teach history, but not this garbage. Let's continue.
About being white. What is your response to that?
Well, I would say those people are most concerned about our teaching of slavery. So let's just talk about
what people? What people? Continue.
Slavery.
Sure.
If we teach white kids about slavery, we're going to teach them that there were white people who enslaved people and there were black people who were enslaved. And we're also going to teach them that there were white people and black people who challenged and fought against.
Oh, you mean what we've already been teaching in American schools? You know, like what I was educated on when I went to school in America? We know these things. We know that there was white people who enslaved blacks, and we know that there are white abolitionists. We know that there were black abolitionists. We are aware of these things, and I have not heard a single person fight against that. Now, you saw this bill go out in Florida where they said, you know, everybody called it the Don't Say Gay bill, when really it was called the Parental Rights and Education bill. And if you go and read it, they directly stipulate that African American history needs to be taught to the full extent in American schools, or at least in Florida public schools. So I hear one thing from the horse's mouth, and then I look and I see something completely different. So which one is it? Because to me, it's not that a certain side of this country is trying to ignore history, ignore racism. It seems to me like this side, this progressive left side, is trying to repaint what it's like to be a black person in America, repackage it, and then say, oh, well, you don't want to teach history when we're against their repackaging of it. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Keep watching.
Slavery. And so my question back to them would be, why can't we allow white children to identify with white abolitionists?
No one ever said they couldn't. And the crowd goes wild.
You know, and also it demonstrates to me that these folks recognize that kids are not colorblind and that how we shape the curriculum impacts our children. So then why aren't they concerned about how black kids feel when they're not represented in the curriculum?
Oh, pause here. From your half black, half white kid here, let's talk about the experience that you would be subjecting people of color to, students of color to, when they are taught things like critical race theory. And again, it is not history. It is not history. It actually has very little to do with history when you get down to it. It is a theory that brings what is a racialized conversation that we should not be having back into the classroom for young children to be pitted against each other and separated into things like affinity groups and told that there are things like white privilege that still exist to this very day and unconscious bias, and that there are barriers placed in front of people of color and students of color's success in this country. So not only are you hurting white kids by going, I know you didn't do anything, but you're still a part of this. You still carry what your ancestors did with you, or what your ancestors didn't do, because right now they don't care about whether or not your ancestors actually owned slaves. They only care about the color of your skin. And then they're telling students of color, well, look at all this bad stuff that happened to you, and guess what? Those forces are still working on you today. There is still systemic racism today. There is still unconscious racism today, and it's from little white kids over here. And it still exists in the system, and you live within the system. I hope you know that. So is that encouraging to black kids? Are they like, oh, yay, I'm so glad you told me that, even though it's false? And that's the thing, too. They will paint the picture as if, well, we're just trying to tell them the truth. Why don't you want to tell kids the truth? Why are you fighting against teaching the truth, teaching history, when that's not at all what they're trying to do? We're all for history. We're all for truth. But the truth is that those factors are not weighing down people of color in this country today. They're not. And even if they were, it certainly wouldn't be because of their white counterparts who are in that classroom with them, which is exactly what they're trying to say. And if you look at different organizations, corporations that have integrated this anti-racist teaching and critical race theory into their curriculums or into their employee trainings, they say it word for word. Coca-Cola Corporation that brought in anti-racism, specifically with Ibram X. Kendi as one of their contributors, whether or not he knows it or not, his work was added in there. They were telling their employees to be less white, teaching them how to be less white, saying to their employees that they shouldn't say things like all lives matter, that they shouldn't say that that white people don't have privilege. That's critical race theory. That's anti-racism, as Ibram X. Kendi likes to call it. So, again, that's what we're against. It has nothing to do with history, and that is just as harmful for students of color as it is for white students. It's not like we're all standing up and going, well, I only care about the white ones. I don't want to make them feel bad. We care about all students, and it's a bad message for every single one of them. I hope there's not more to this clip, but if there is, my goodness.
One of the...
Thank goodness. It's just the crowd cheering in admiration for something that they do not know about. Anyways, that's my thoughts on just Ibram X. Kendi in general. I could do a whole deep dive into this one particular man and how he's managed to make an entire career grifting on Black oppression. And you'll notice that every single person who does this, they cannot let it go. They've made so much money off of it, garnered so much success. They're sitting with people just sitting at the edge of their seats waiting for the next piece of oppression that they talk about so they can cheer them on and clap and virtue signal and pat themselves on the back for reading their books, for reading their articles, for standing up and being an anti-racist, whatever that means. He's making anti-racist baby books, essentially telling people how to raise anti-racist children. Come on now. What incentive does he have to see oppression end? What incentive does he have to see division end in this country? What incentive does he have to encourage unity? Because right now he's making money hand over fist, being divisive and pitting people against each other and telling others that they have work to do. But don't worry, he's got all the solutions. He's come to the conclusion. He's done the studying. He knows exactly where all you white folks need to be and where all you black folks need to be. And if you don't know, give him the money and he'll tell you exactly how to get here. It's amazing to me because, you know, a lot of people will hop on my social media and be like, you're such a grifter. Like, you've identified your niche and you're grifting. I'm just stating what is simple fact, that I'm a normal person in this country who has the same rights and privileges as everybody else. These are the people grifting. These are the people telling you a different narrative and then making money, getting mansions, selling people and making people into victims, which is exactly what I used to do. Used to get paid a lot of money to convince people of their own victimhood. And guess what? That didn't quite work out for me because I realized just the fallibility of some of these arguments. He's yet to do so. Or maybe he has and he just doesn't care. But this 1 minute video just had so many lies and lies on top of lies. And these are big, accredited individuals who are sharing this stuff and cheering him on. I certainly will not be cheering him on. But let me know what your thoughts are. Did I say something that you might think is wrong? Put a rebuttal down in the comments below. Do you say something that you support? Put that in the comments down below. Is there an angle that you wish I'd taken but I had not taken in this particular video? And overall, what's your view of critical race theory? Are you a reader? Have you studied it? Have you gotten into it and all the buzz that we're hearing about this particular bit of dogma that's circulating in all of our institutions and corporations? Because honestly, I'm tired of it and I'm ready to see it go. But as long as Ibram X. Kendis and Nicole Hannah-Jones and all these people, the Kimberly Crenshaws of the world, can continue to make money off of this, they will. And to them I ask, if tomorrow we wake up and every single problem that you've identified in all of your many books is solved, what are you going to do next? You going to put down the pen and start leading a normal life and go back to a regular life of being an American citizen? Or will you find something else to complain about? Will you find another piece of division to put forth into the world? Because as we all know, revolutions always need a new enemy. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time we post a new piece of content for you. And have a great day. Bye, guys.